We now cross to Mbalenhle Mthethwa, who is with the Mpumalanga Premier Refilwe Mtshweni-Tsipane.
And we want to condemn that barbaric act that has been done here and say that we strongly believe that the law will take its course. As we speak right now, we do have a team of policemen and women who are dedicated to make sure that they focus and concentrate specifically in this case so that we break through, we get to know who are the perpetrators in this instance. And immediately after that, the law, we know that it will take its course. And therefore, we want to assure the community of Mpumalanga and South Africa and the world at large that Ugogo, she's in a good state. We have seen her, we had discussions with her. There were a few advices that we gave her as well as government. And we also indicated that as provincial government, moving forward, what is it that we need to do to make sure that we protect Ugogo? As we know that she's a national icon to all of us. What is it that we need to do to make sure that her safety is being safeguarded? Now, what we have done from our side is that we've already assembled a team of policemen and women who will then do an assessment for us based on that report. We will immediately move in very swiftly and attend to the issues as they are raised in that report. So we will await that report, but as we are awaiting that report, we have spoken to the station commander responsible for Siyabuswa to do patrols almost every day just to check and make sure Ugogo is safe within this within her vicinity. So we really appreciate you coming out in numbers to come and make sure the story of Ugogo has been captured, and whoever who did this act to Ugogo, we want to appeal to that person to go out there voluntarily and submit himself, because we are very close to his footsteps. And then in due course we will be arresting the suspect, and therefore we want to appeal with the suspect to say that this is an old woman, a very fragile person who doesn't deserve to be dehumanized in this manner. And therefore we want to say to you, go out there and submit yourself. You know you did wrong. Do what is right this time. For the sake of the community of Mpumalanga, for the sake of the nation of Ndebele, go out there and hand yourself over.
Premier, from Newsroom Africa, why the delay in terms of this? I mean, the Dr. Esther Mahlangu, as you rightfully put it, is a renowned artist from Ndebele here in Mpumalanga, and people, when they see the board in J, whether they're from Durban or Polokwane like myself, they want to come and see the place here of Dr. Esther Mahlangu. Then why the delay to assist as far as security detail and even this assessment that you are now doing? Why wasn't it done before so that you can able to safeguard this icon who lives alone?
Well, we must acknowledge upfront that we never envisaged such barbaric action would happen to her, and therefore, that be as it may, here we are today, all of us being confronted by this situation. What choice do we have? We can't therefore go back and say, why did we not do it then? Because there was nothing propelling us to think that way. Possibly, yes, we agree that possibly we could have foreseen the situation, but we never thought that people can be this cruel to this point. And therefore, hence we are saying, now this has happened, what then is it that we need to do? Because this person has just indicated to us that he is capable of doing anything and at any given time, and therefore it has opened us it has opened our eyes to say that what is it that we need to do to protect Dr. Esther Mahlangu from these barbaric actions.
Premier Lindogu from ENCA, you said that there's a report that's going to be compiled by very capable police around the security. The foundation, Dr. Esther Mahlangu Foundation, had said that they are unable to keep up with the security, with the maintenance of the security detail or layers around the house, Dr. Mahlangu. But perhaps just give us a sense of what will happen after that report. Who then will be maintaining some of these security measures that you're looking into? Is this coming from the coffers of the province, or is it still something that the foundation will need to continue to struggle with?
Well, if we come in as provincial government, obviously the security measures based on the assessment report, it will indicate precisely what is it that ought to be done. And accordingly, if they are saying that we need to put up warm bodies as security guards, and they will recommend as such and say how many should we deploy here, and we have to follow suit. And all those costs will be carried by government, and therefore the foundation will have no cost in that regard. So whilst we don't want to preempt what would be contained in that report, and whatever that we will be doing, we will be guided by a report whom we believe those are professionals, experts, because we don't want any comebacks somewhere in along 10 years down the line to say that, no, this is what you've done, and you've done these upgradements, you've done that. Who gave you permission to do that? What informed you to do such renovations or whatever the case might be? But it is proper if we have something in writ, which is in a form of a authentic report, which is an assessment that will guide us precisely what is it that needs to be done. And accordingly, immediately, we'll step in and make sure that we carry that as such. As you can see here, there are renovations in this precinct where we correctly agree that to us as Mpumalanga, we pride ourselves with the work of Dr Esther Mahlangu. Hence, as a provincial government, we've made an undertaking to say that we need to develop this precinct so that there should be a destination of choice. As our brother was indicating that each time he comes this side, he would love to see where Dr Esther is, so that they get to appreciate the work that she is doing and the legacy that she will be leaving behind for all of us to enjoy as South Africans and the broader community throughout the world. And therefore, we are here through the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture and MTPA to develop this area so that it is of required standards in terms of the tourism requirements, norms and standards. And therefore, we will continue with the work that we are doing, but then over and above that, yes, there is an urgent need for us to up our security as well.
Just in short, just a second, but just in short, there's a call from the foundation that the peace displays be declared a monument. Therefore, it will not only be the provincial department's job, to be the national arts and culture prerogative as well. That call, will you be able to support it and apply through the relevant channels so that the area be declared a monument, and then therefore a state of security would then come through?
Well, that is given, obviously. So hence we are seeing us, or we've already started to prepare ourselves to moving towards that direction. Ultimately, Dr Esther, she's not being owned by us only as provincial government, but also we're sharing her with the international community. We're sharing her with the entire South African community, and therefore it would be of interest to all of us. Just yesterday I was speaking to the Minister of Arts and Culture, whom is equally concerned. He would have been here, but unfortunately, because of he had oral reply in Parliament, he could not make it. He's still busy there. But then we had discussions. We exchanged the discussion amongst us to say, how do we plan the future of Dr Esther moving forward, and then in terms of the development, and also declaring this precinct as a destination of choice in future.
Again from ENCA. I think the elephant in the room, Premier, is this police investigation that is happening. Police have said that they are hot on the heels of the perpetrator. You've also repeated that, and I imagine it's from the reports from the police. And even if you cannot disclose the contents of some of that investigation, but the all-important question here that should be answered in earnest is the police having enough in their evidence to say that, or are they just saying this because of the measure and magnitude of this particular crime and who it was performed on? So is there something to warrant the police saying that they will in fact be apprehending the suspect based on the reports that they've given you? Are you confident with that?
Well, we are confident, and unfortunately, seated where we are, having appreciated the report, everyone is a suspect in this case, including immediate family members. Hence, I was appealing with them as well that they need to cooperate with the investigators if they were to be questioned at some point in time. And they mustn't take it too hard, and it should not be in a spirit of breaking the family, because family ties are equally important. But for us to crack through the case, everyone in this instance is a suspect. You and I, seated where we are right now, we are equally suspects. If we were to be interrogated, we need to respond in all honesty to make sure that we cooperate with the law enforcement so that we are able to apprehend the suspect. If it is a family member, too bad, unfortunately, that person has to face the law. If it is a community member, too bad, unfortunately, that person has to face the law.
That answer, Premier, almost sounds like you're saying it's a family member.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just painting a scenario. It could be you, it could be me. Why don't you count you and I? Because I repeatedly said it could be you or me. Everyone here is a suspect in this regard.
Sounds like you're insinuating it's a family member.
No, not at all. I'm not saying that. But you asked me a question that how is it, the preliminary report, what does it say at this point in time? It can point any direction, seated where I am. I'm not insinuating that a person who did this is a family member. Linda Kulu might also be a suspect in this regard. Hence, I'm appealing with everybody to cooperate with the investigators.
From News 24. Today marks 4 days since the incident occurred. Are the police chasing? In fact, marks 4 days since the incident occurred.
Yes.
The incident occurred on Saturday, and today is Wednesday.
There you have it, Anastasia. That was the Premier, Mpumalanga Premier, just giving us a report back on the conversations that they had with Dr Esther Mahlangu inside, and also just giving the media an update on the status of the case and investigations. And as you've heard, she is pleading, and the police are pleading with those involved to come forward, given the fact that it could be anyone, it could even be a family member. They're not ruling out that it could be a family member, but let's continue with the briefing.
Are we chasing the right suspect? Because this thing happened in broad daylight. Clearly someone saw the suspect who came out of this house carrying Mama's safe, and there's no way that one wants to see the person who committed this offense. Are our police officers chasing the right suspect, or are they guessing?
No. At this point in time, no one has been regarded as a suspect, not as yet. Hence, I'm saying that no one is accused at this point in time, and therefore we are saying that our police officers are hard at work to make sure that they apprehend the right people. Everyone will be asked, and then every community member around this area whom might seem to have knowledge as to what transpired on that day might come forth and give evidence in that regard. And accordingly, they will be interviewed, and the person who is pointed will then be equally interviewed with an intention to gather information. And after that, it's then that they can make a determination in line with their expertise and skills so that we apprehend the correct suspect in this regard. We don't want any speculations. We don't want any rush in this instance so that we make wrong arrests. And at the end of the day, no one can account in that regard. But what is important is that we want the perpetrators to be brought in book.
My follow-up question. By now, the suspect should have been profiled. It's 4 days since the incident happened. There's no way that there should have been at least a sketch that is distributed across all media platforms saying, this is the person we are looking for. Are you saying that our police officers are doing enough? At least bring a sketch of the would-be suspect. Are they doing enough?
Well, I wouldn't want to rule out that, but I'm saying that let us cooperate and be patient a bit, so that ultimately at the end of the day we are all worried, we are all concerned of what has happened to Ugogo. Seated where I am, I would have loved the situation by now. At least we should be pointing at her to say ongenele Ugogo. Unfortunately, where we are right now, police are still doing their best to make sure that they apprehend the right suspect in this case. So we are appealing for, once again, for patience in this regard, and indeed if someone is suspected, accordingly you will be notified as such, and if they are certain that they've got good grounds to come and apprehend me as a suspect, then accordingly you'll also be briefed as such. But where we are at this point in time, I've not received a report that says, Guti Premier, you are the one who did this to Ugogo, and therefore we are calling you for questioning.
It means you are still speculating at the moment.
I'm not speculating. We are investigating. No, they are investigating. They're not speculating because they've not pointed anyone as yet. Okay. So they are investigating the matter. My
follow-up question to Minister of Community Safety, Dr. Shongwe. I spoke to elderly women here in the morning. They're not feeling safe. They feel that officers from Siyabuswa police station are not doing enough. And the last time they saw a police van is when it passes through the tar road. They claim that police officers are not patrolling the area. What are you going to do as the Ministry of Community Safety to instill confidence of the police into the community of Siyabuswa?
Yeah, no, first and foremost, the issue of policing is not a matter of a police station only, or the number of police men and women that we have around Siyabuswa. Policing includes also police forums, community members, amakhosi, izinduna, abafundisi, and councillors, and all leaders that are residing around this area. All of us are responsible for doing policing around our area. If you look at the population of Siyabuswa as compared to the number of police that we have in the Siyabuswa police station, they are not even making a fraction of the population of this area. So that tells you that there's nowhere where Siyabuswa police station can assign a policeman or women for each and every resident of Siyabuswa. So it's a combination of all of us.
What are you doing to ensure that there is more deployment of police? Since you're saying that the ratio is too low as a Ministry of, what are you doing to ensure that there is more manpower on the ground to quell such instances from happening?
That's a very good question. We have structures that are called JMF. It's a Joint Management Forum, and JCPS, that is the cluster meetings where we are meeting with the provincial commissioner, the top management of the police, and other security agencies, where we discuss the plight of the crime in a particular area. And indeed, Siyabuswa is also not immune from that discussions. We are looking at it very closely, and we are going to make sure, and we want to say to the people of Siyabuswa, let them be confident with the police, let them work with the community members and leaders of this area, so that everyone is in the safe hands.
Missy, can you put your head on the block? Can you give us a timeline? When should you expect an arrest? Just give us a time frame. A month, week, a year, 2 years, 10 years. When should you expect an arrest?
Yeah, no, the only problem with you as a journalist is that you are not a police. You see, we have a special team of investigators that are looking into this matter, and we're expecting a soon arrest of that particular perpetrator or perpetrators. And I can refer you to a case. You remember that a TRT member was killed in Mpumalanga, and it took us some time in terms of the policy of the police. Within 72 hours, we must know who is the suspect. But because of the length and the dynamics around that particular investigation, it might drag a bit, but at the end of the day, that particular person will be arrested.
Premier, my last question. Your message, how are you going to ensure that residents of Siyabuswa, and particularly in Mpumalanga, but the elderly, because they are the ones who feel more pain than others, because she is almost their age. What are you going to say to them to ensure that they feel safe? Because some of them say to me, we're not safe at all in our homes. What are you going to say to them as elderly citizens to say, please be safe?
You know, to us, it's a very painful situation, which it's a situation ordinarily one would not expect to happen within our communities. It is us as community members who must make sure that we safeguard the safety of our elderly people. And it is a very unfortunate incident each time when bad things happens. It also happens to our elders. A worse scenario could have happened to Dr Esther in this instance, but we are saying thanks God the person could not get or reach his ultimate destination possibly, because we don't know what was the intent. And therefore, this old woman have every right to feel unprotected and unsafe within their communities. And what is important, the message that we must send down is that all of us, we are police. We must make sure that safety begins at home. It has to start with our children. Let us teach our children to take charge and be responsible for what is happening within their households. Some of our children have turned into thuggery behaviors, which to some extent does affect the elderly people. So quite often than not, in most of the cases, you'd find that a suspect is someone within the household, or the information might have leaked right from inside the house. It went out and somebody took advantage of such information, and therefore it says to us, all of us, we've got the responsibility to protect our elders. Those are our rare species, if we want to call them. We still need to tap from their wisdom. We really need them for us to grow and be better people than what we were yesterday, and therefore their safety rests upon our hands. As government, we've got responsibility, a responsibility that we cannot carry alone, unfortunately. We need each one of us to make sure that we protect our elderly people within our communities. Each one of us who still bears a child must make sure that we teach our children to take responsibility at an early age of life, because what we are seeing, the moral fiber of our community has now degenerated to a point whereby you'll never understand what is happening anymore. You know, you can't even trust your neighbor. You can't even trust your child going out there to a shop. You don't know whether the child will come back or might not come back. And that tells you about a societal illness that is within our community, which is something that needs all of us to change our behavior, how we see things. What is it that we feed our children on daily basis so that they become the future and better leaders of our country? But in its current form and nature, we are leading a society that is morally decaying on daily basis, and therefore it says to us, what is it that we need to do as government, working with our communities to make sure that we restore that dignity and peace and that stability and safety within our communities? It is $1 million question that needs to be answered by all of us, which needs all of us jointly working together to make sure that we restore the dignity, ubuntu bethu, because of us as African. We knew that if I could not make it to my house, I may just walk into my neighbor's house and sleep there and still feel safe and, you know, be at home. But today, I'm no longer sure if I can still do that. You know, every time you think of stopping by your house late at night, you think twice, because you don't know whether you're safe or not. So it's something really that needs all of us to look at and make sure that we deal with that situation. And we are happy because of you are depicting this picture. You are painting this picture as a journalist on daily basis. And to some extent, some people get touched and they change their behaviors. And, you know, it's not everyone that will respond timeously. Some of them will take them time to change their behavior. Some of them will comprehend with ease as they see things happening. And therefore, we want to, again, to humble ourselves and ask our communities to please protect our elderly people. Let us not harm them in any way, in any form. Let us be at the forefront in defending them because we need them in our life.
Last question.
Ndunakulu nguJoyce Mahlangu MCRS FM. Engiba ukubuza ukuthi ngokuya ngokwephenyo eselelenziwe mhlawumnye elivezwe kancane sipholisa namkhana ngithi elivezwe kancane baphenye abaphenya ngongeneleleko ugogo Esther Mahlangu kade kumuntu mhlawumnye onamanaba.
No, ugogo akasumuntu onamanaba. Ugogo umuntu omdala uzikhulele